Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Divine Within, the invisible connection with God. I'm Santiago Kneeland, your host, and today we're going to be talking about the art of a universal language and the school of service. On the Divine Within podcast, we share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey. Today, we're stepping into a conversation that spans the personal, the communal, and even the universal. The art of a universal language and the school of service. Together with my guest, April Helen, a visionary leader and art of the living consultant, we'll journey through what it means to define religion as a living relationship with the divine, and how that inner experience unfolds into action, unity, and purpose. This is more than a discussion. It's an invitation to see your own spiritual journey as part of a much greater whole. So welcome, April Helen. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure as well, brother. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's an interesting topic, and I like the conversations we had leading up to this because I think it's very applicable. The life that we're living, the secular world, the material world, it kind of gets into us. So I think it's a very profound topic, and it's practical as well. So let's dive into because we got a lot to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I want to the topic is the art of universal language and the school of service. But the first segment, or what I want to talk about first, is redefining religion. And I have this quote here to start us off that I think it's pretty interesting and kind of sets us into the mood. So to define or redefine religion is, and once we begin to see religion not as an institution but as a living experience, the question becomes, where does the experience begin? It starts deep within and the quiet dialogue between the soul and the divine. What can you tell us about this definition and anything about religion?
Yes. Yes, I too have enjoyed our conversations over the years leading up to this moment on this auspicious day as many people celebrate a divine master teacher on the planet who taught that religion as a personal experience is the path. And yes, you mentioned that deep inner dialogue. It's certainly where it starts. And that acknowledgement, like the last podcast that we did, a little plug for that we're already connected and it's up to us to maintain and um, experiment and investigate, incubate in this amazing opportunity to have that personal connection with our creator. So,
And you're talking about an inner dialogue, and I think and that's where everything starts from. And that inner dialogue, I think it starts small. We've been talking about this. It's a little spark that you have to, kind of keep and make it grow much further, and even you can even share it. So, how is that the leading piece into redefining religion, into really understanding? Because one of the things that I think we have to really understand or redefine is we're not talking about institutional religion. I mean, that's like the common cultural, way of thinking of religion. But religion is really, and what we learned at this podcast and our conversation is extremely personal. So how does that inner voice, that inner communion, that inner communication lead to that personal religion?
well, interesting. What's coming up for me right now is the people who are surrounding us when we're children. So, whether it's our birth parents or caregivers, extending into community and schools and churches, those who have the most influence over our very moldable minds at that young age.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience of finding that authentic, unique inner dialogue for myself, it's taken quite a while to unveil or pull back what my caregiver's influence was. So it's definitely a journey. maybe even a lifetime for some, and maybe even beyond this life, of
Definitely.
recognizing what my inner dialogue is with the creator. And of course, you and I have a mutual admiration and understanding that we have a fragment of our creator inside of us guiding the way, and to recognize that within ourselves is, I think, is the key to this transition. I love how we're talking about the redefining or reframing of this word religion, and we actually started that on the last podcast as well,
Yeah.
of not allowing this outside world, taking the information in and discerning it, and how it relates to you and your personal relationship with your creator. And as I have been on this path, ever since childhood, really
Mm-hmm.
in awe of aligning in integrity with the values that I say I have. And
Exactly.
I catch myself in the inner dialogue being someone who I don't want to be. So there's that refinement of character. And I think that that is what I am most intrigued about right now, is really getting that inner
Yeah.
dialogue in alignment with my outer expression through altruistic living.
Definitely. And you hit on something that's very important, that inner dialogue. And we all kind of tend to see how we act towards other people outside, but we kind of not consider how we're treating ourselves, and that's where it starts. And if your inner dialogue is not loving, if you're not loving yourself, and that's a lot of what I talk about, about how we view and the way we give meaning through all these archetypes and how we view our lives. You can see maybe our lives can be as mundane as anything, we go and do mechanic stuff. But if we do not give that meaning, if we don't see what's behind it, how we're growing, how we're interacting, how we're, the hero basically in our story instead of the villain, then not, first of all, if we don't do that, our life is meaningless. But if we do that in a negative way, which is the bad part, how are we going to perceive ourselves? And how many times in this world, I mean, we err, we sin, we commit, the things that are not, maybe not up to our standards. But you know, how do you want to see that? Is an error that you can mend, or is something that defined you? And especially in nowadays with this world that anything goes on social media, it stays there, and defines your existence. Everybody says, we're 40 something. And back in the day, you could do a lot of stupid stuff, and maybe it wasn't there for posterity, but kind of put, you know, the world that we live in and all these difficult things, and how can we have a good inner communication? That's the
Mhm.
question.
Well, so we started this in the last podcast too, of sharing some ideas around how to keep that connection
Mm-hmm.
maintained. And I point back to the body. What am I doing to my physical temple? Because
Yeah.
the things that I'm learning about, like the pituitary gland in relation to this cosmic, I think of it like a radar,
Mm-hmm.
and
Like an antenna, right? We
yes,
we we carry. Yeah.
and the cleaner I keep
Mm.
my thoughts, my physical temple, that connection
Yeah.
is more clear, so I can listen and be guided in the discernment process of decisions. So it's this, well, I keep getting a flashback of how far I have come in this refinement of the inner dialogue to be more
Yeah.
authentic with my creator. I grew up with a, a mother and family who I kept that in my inner dialogue, which was not where I want my integrity to be.
Okay.
And I talk to myself like a little girl, sending her to her room all the time.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And so I don't think I even recognized that until I was about 20, 21. And once I recognized it, and now I'm 48, and I'm so much better about it. I don't scream at myself. I don't send myself to my room.
yeah.
and and it's more cheerful, it's more optimistic.
Yeah,
It's more of the qualities that I adore about my creator.
yeah,
And I definitely consider that alignment of attempting to refine my character to embody the characteristics of my creator.
definitely,
Yeah, that is
definitely.
helping to get my inner dialogue and outer expression in service, altruism, more frequent and stable.
Yeah. And I mean, you're talking about refinement, and I think this is a key word because you're refining, you're improving, you always, and this is the constant, stepping forward, evolving, and it's eternal. We're the concept is actualizing. You're going from potential to, actual, and we're perfecting ourselves. So this refinement starts with us and starts in our mind. And I like a lot, and I'm gonna tell you what happens to me when I started to catching a lot of these traits or a lot of these things that maybe weren't the ones that you said that I want to keep for myself or want to you know uh further in life. But um with my children especially is where I see, where I catch how maybe those conditionings where everything behind from my previous generations to start doing the things that I didn't like my parents did to me. I start doing with that, but it's really being conscious. I think the key there is to being conscious of that. Then you can change it. If you're really out there and you're not being focused and you have your mind on what you're doing, then you can't change it. So I think, being aware is very important in this process. And having children, and I have three children that, I have three different varieties of these things. But it's interesting how when you have children, you grow with them, and those experiences that you had when you were young, you relive them through them. And that's so beautiful, because I think it's also what you're saying, the traits that you admire from your creator. And those are the traits, that I see, as a father, as a creator, quote unquote, to my children, and who the eternal creator unto me. How can I be, and how can I take those traits of the perfect father, which is our creator, and be like that, be that father that is trying to get, not perfect, but trying to be better each day for his children. I think that's very important.
God, that's so important. Yes, and as we are considering this redefining or reframing of that word religion, that is a really important point of this. And I guess the popular thing right now, generational healing, lineage healing, and you're right, it's that up step in consciousness, awareness, observation, that are we doing our part in this generation to ascend the planet?
Yeah.
And I take that responsibility
Hmm.
very realistically, and advocate that the 8 billion plus people on the planet play their role, do their part, to the best of their ability, whatever their
Yeah.
capacity. And even if it's simply getting in alignment with your inner reality to your outer expression.
Yeah.
And although that may seem so simple, because we're so ingrained in whatever our caregivers have given us, there is definitely a breakaway that needs to happen. Depending on the caregiver's methodology, strategy, belief systems. And I don't like stereotyping. I know sometimes that they are useful, that I think that the because of the state of the world right now, I can only intuit that what we're talking about is a rarity, yet I definitely think that it's growing in
Definitely.
popularity. And I think it really started, I can see these bumps in the evolution of the planet that we've gotten these risings of consciousness, and I think we're in one of them right now.
Definitely, definitely. And any as we're saying, any true uh if we were saying any true truthful refinement, and really when you really assess and you want to go further, want to really move forward in this, you have to be there's struggle. There's the part that we have to let go, we have to do without. And there's an interesting archetype that I use in the Mayan mythology on the cosmology and the Solkin, and it's right the last seal in the sequence, and it's the storm. And what says
Mm,
is that before you go into the sun, and that's why the sun always comes after the storm, and that I think that's there's a reason to that, because the storm, what it does, it catalyzes it.
mm,
Whatever that's not going to be eternal, it just takes it away. It speeds up things, so if you go through these difficult processes, and sometimes we kind of tend to shy away from them and not maybe embrace them, and maybe even if we're living them, we're not even learning the experience. But if the more we embrace them and we go head on to the storm, the more catalyzed, the more transformed we're going to be. And that, and it washes, like you were saying, we're talking about the mind and how we can clear our thoughts, and how it's important to start with our body. And I always thought that, and I believe that we have three bodies, spirit, mind, and matter. And as long as one or two of them are in balance, the third one can come in balance, so it's very practical to start with a body. You can exercise, you can eat well, and then follow with your mind. And once you start understanding yourself, you start understanding your mind, that takes you into developing your spirit, and that is religion. And now that we're defining, that is the process of going into religion. When you have everything in balance in your body, then you have the capacity to go and find um yeah, understand God and divinity.
mm. Yes. I like that you said, and I'm thinking of also the word progress,
Yeah.
refining for the progress. And then I think of when you mention basically inevitable challenges and this steel on steel refinement,
Mm-hmm.
and the blade and getting it sharp through that challenge of the metal being together. And I from a very young age understood that challenge was the path towards experiential wisdom, and I embrace it. I really look at challenge as like
Yeah.
enthusiastically, and let me go into the fire and have that alchemical process of
It
refining
it
me.
transforms you. It's so beautiful to
It really
transform,
is.
to shed your old skin. It
Yes.
really is. It really is. To catalyze. I love that. I totally agree with you. Totally
Yeah.
agree with you.
Well, and then when meeting with other people who understand this process,
Yeah.
it reduces the suffering, right? We
Yeah.
can choose
It's
to
relatable.
not
You can
suffer.
understand it. You can lick
Yeah.
your wounds, right? You can share in battle, right? So, once we have this inner dialogue, and we going now to the expression, the outer expression, which is going to be our next segment. How can you practically, because we can stay here forever and trying to define a good explanation for religion. What can our audience take, or what is your take on what
Yeah.
April Helen defines religion as?
Very simple, personal experience. Specifically, if you want to make it specific, with your creator, and how that relationship, as you move through navigating all of life's experiences, for me, especially challenges, and sharing the joys. So to magnetize more of them, And there's a part in here in this portion of the conversation that before we move forward into the outer
Uh-huh.
expression that I think is important in this religion, a personal experience, is intention setting. Going through the world, like you said, through a higher level of consciousness, so intending to raise that consciousness, intending to have that relationship with my creator, intending to use that fodder to express more conscious, higher values in the world, love, um, all the things
Yeah.
that I adore about the creator. Yeah.
I always, now that you're saying about intending, I think that our actions are many times flawed because that's when we take them into the material plane. But as long as our intentions are in love, are based in truth, beauty, and goodness, then not that we get a ticket off, but we have to learn from our errors. You know, it's okay. You get a ticket, or maybe you get a warning, then you're gonna get a ticket. Maybe the next time you're gonna go to jail. You know what I mean. That's the problem. I mean, the path when you start going into a not so positive spiral,
Mm.
but that's the whole concept. You know, the intention. You just said it. If as long as we intend to have that connection, we intend to have that communion, we will find it because
Yeah.
that's where God meets us at the middle. And now we'll move into what we are considering the outer expression, which is really putting it into action. Now we talked about ourselves, about how we work, but what do we do with the outer expression? So from the inside out, faith is never meant to remain hidden. In this segment, we'll look at how the inner life overflows into expression, turning belief into action and personal conviction into a lived testimony. This is where love becomes visible.
I
Take it
like
away.
that.
Take it away.
Love becoming visible. Love is so easy for me. I love. And so it's interesting to have it be such a natural way of my existence and be able also to lift people up with my generous love, as well as learn how to discern when it's appropriate, how much is appropriate in that moment.
Yeah.
Because I've had to learn how to not be taken advantage of in my life because I'm so loving and generous. And once again, that steel on steel refinement of the higher consciousness of how I move through the world. And I was thinking about as we transition through this inner to the outer, is this language piece. As you mentioned before,
Uh-huh.
I'm fascinated with the art of universal language.
Yeah.
And to me, that means that just like religion is a personal experience, our language is a personal experience. So in reality, the way I see it is the over 8 billion people on the planet right now. I think we just passed the 8 billion mark. Every single one of them, every single one of us has our own unique language.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that stereotyping can get a little tricky because you may be able to see certain conditions and characteristics about that person, yet to not cast a judgment
Yeah.
because you really don't know. So the key is setting this intention within yourself to have this openness and willingness to see everything about that one individual in front of you and learn how to communicate with that person. And so
Yeah.
it is definitely for me an art. And I think one of the best ways that I started to learn this was being a waiter, caterer,
Yes.
a
Yes.
bartender,
As I
all
have
of
as a salesman, I mean, all these
yeah.
the people careers or positions where you interact with a lot of people give you this. Yeah, definitely.
And since I've started really thinking about that, And hearing other mentors say that we're all salesmen. We're all selling ourselves. And as we're in that dialogue with another human, keeping our intention of authentic integrity and alignment for receiving things that are deeper listening than what that person is actually saying. And this art of universal language also encompasses way beyond words, right? It's everything
That's what
from
I wanted
body
to ask you.
language.
What is
Yeah.
beyond words? Very
Yes,
important.
it is. Thanks for asking that. So first, I would say energetic frequency.
Okay.
What hertz basically are me running at? And that is in a direct relationship to the integrity that you say you have with
Mm-hmm.
the values that you're attempting to embody.
Definitely.
So energetic frequency, body language, tone
Hmm.
of voice, um, your thoughts, that alone. So that relates to the inner dialogue. How your listening skills. Are you thinking about what you're gonna say
Yeah.
when they take a break and what they're saying? Or are you really receiving it and taking it in, and there's a pause in between the people speaking so that that the reconciling force, that third force, can be the guiding light between those two people. So this art of universal language, when you're moving into a crowd,
Mm-hmm.
now that's a whole different story. You have to really take your awareness field to a much broader
Yeah.
audience, and it generally stays more general unless
That's specific,
you,
right? It gets more.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
as there's more
Yeah.
people.
Definitely.
And yet when you become a master at, say, reading the room, reading energetic frequency, master speakers can manipulate that to a win.
Definitely. I mean, how
Yeah.
many just I mean just stand there and you just in awe, right? I mean, it's very important. And I mean continue, but I want you but once we finish that, I wanted you to give me a list because I want our audience to take note of all these because I think this is something that they have to, be aware of what you're saying because this is very important. I mean, this is something that you've developed and you've been working most of your life in. So I think this
Mhm.
is, the something they can take home.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like I want to tell a little story about
Please.
how this
Please,
has
please.
become such an important thing that now I've developed it through the School of Service. If you want to know more about that, let me
Yes, and
know.
and well, yeah. Well, at the end, we're gonna tell us all about the School of Service. But yes.
Yeah. So, as a child of an interfaith, three lineages who caretook me, all interfaith, everything from Greek Orthodox,
Mm-hmm.
Catholic, the Urantia Book, Buddhism, um, atheism,
Mm-hmm.
agnosticism. We
Mm-hmm.
had it all
A
in
buffet.
this. It was really beautiful, and some of them, as you could probably imagine, some of those traditional religions, they were more wanting me to make sure that I went with their religion.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were other family members, caretakers, who really advocated for me exploring and
Okay.
investigating,
Mm-hmm.
and your path is your own.
Yeah.
Your religion is what you create with your creator. And then moving around a lot. I moved, gosh, we started moving, uh, you don't need to know the circumstances yet, from about
Yeah.
8 years old, and traveled since I was an infant,
Yeah.
and then moved around a lot. Gosh, I think the last 10 years I was actually the most stable in one environment. So all of that variety of
Mm-hmm.
experience, especially in elementary school, when I would speak up about the truths that I thought were true and would get,
I can imagine. I can
criticized,
imagine.
and it embarrassed me. So
Yeah.
I quickly learned how to, I want everybody to like me.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
like,
exactly.
what can I say and can't say? And so I learned very early how to navigate conversations. Oh, and then when I was 15, I read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
And,
Yes.
that is a really good call on, for one, always call people the name that they want to be called, not their birth name, or
Yeah.
because that is the most important word to that person. And then asking questions,
Asking
getting
questions.
curious,
Yes.
being fascinated,
Yes.
not putting, I love the quote, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
There is potential there. So what is it? Even if I have a prejudgment or slap a label on him and stereotype him and walk away, no, 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 no. There is something good there. And now I feel like I want to kind of point back to this other redefinition of religion. It is incorporating our stance, our place
Mm-hmm.
in the cosmos, in infinite eternity. And for me, it's we're all one family. We're
Yeah.
all one cosmic family. And how do you treat those that you love? How do you treat your family? And the more I understand that we're all siblings, the easier it gets to be fascinated and curious about, well, how is your experience different than mine? What if you
Yeah.
know something that I don't know? What can I get from you to incorporate into my life? And then also the discernment process. Oh, well, that doesn't resonate with me, but I love hearing about it
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah.
And if that's the experience that you have, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Let's keep going in the conversation.
An interesting thought on what you just said, and this is something that I had, a conversation with since we're telling stories, and I love your story, but I agree with you. Traveling and having all this diversity, it's gives you these tools. But one of the things I remember, especially growing up in Mexico, a lot of the faith, it's the pilgrimages, and you would
Mm,
see, especially for the Day of the Virgin of Guadalupe, or maybe they had the like, this little town had to go or goes to this date, right? And go to Mexico City to the Shrine of the Virgin of Guadalupe. And my dad would they go on their bikes and they go because it's going into Mexico City. There's a climb,
mm.
it's volcano, so it's high. And my dad would go and say, look at all these poor bastards. And they're just, they're basing something on maybe this. There's a priest probably, and they have the, their shirts or their T-shirts. Yeah, yeah, maybe probably the preacher, not the preacher, the padrecito or the priest made a buck out of it and sold it. But you can't deny their faith. I mean, even
Mhm.
if it's that, even if I mean, they're riding that bicycle going over. Maybe you're not, you don't commune on that, you don't like that, but I respect that faith. I even congratulate that faith, and I
Yeah,
try to, you know, get a little bit of that faith. If we had a little bit of that faith that these guys had, even if you think it's not maybe place where who are you to judge, so it gives
yeah,
you, and that's part of the inner awareness that you were saying, outer awareness. And with my father, it's been an interesting, let's put it that way, it's been an interesting journey. And but I think through life, it's been a hard journey, but nowadays, going through that transmutation, that transformation that we're talking about, how you have to go and shed that skin,
yeah.
you have to keep on doing that all the time. So before we close this segment, I need you to give us a little bit of a list of what you were saying so people can take note of this and be aware. The key here is being aware. And later at the end, you're going to tell us a little bit of what you can help them with, and what is all about your ministry.
So when you say this awareness, I am searching for something right now that is the notes of these points of moving from the inner world to the outer expression.
Mm-hmm.
So being more in alignment through aware observation and awareness of your inner dialogue. What is that tone? What
Mm-hmm.
are the words that you're
Tone words.
using
Mm-hmm.
in that inner dialogue? How does it feel? How are you feeling inside about it? What's your body going through when you think these thoughts? Do you need to have some cleaning up around that and to feel better in your body? So to be in alignment for that, what did you say, antenna to grasp? I think of an umbilical cord.
Yeah.
It feels like an antenna is like just a one way, and umbilical cord is the symbiotic,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I have it direct to God or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
creator. And so definitely getting aware of tone. Hue is another word that I
Okay.
think of when I think of that inner life. And the more I share with my creator, even through embarrassment and shame and guilt. And the more I share, the easier and more comforting that is, because then my mind is trained so well to go to what I adore.
And the
And
capacity we have to laugh at ourselves is, the most, it's so liberating. But please
totally.
continue. Please continue.
Yeah. So then we have, well, and that roots, I'm staying within the inner for a moment.
Yeah.
That intention, what is my intention on the planet? And mine is, how can I live an in alignment life so to serve humanity, so I can
Yeah.
play my role in the ascension of the planet. Whatever your intention is, and who I don't nobody can say that except yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so setting that as your, I
Your
guess,
North Star
refining.
or your guiding,
Yes,
your
the
compass.
compass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So body language. And I think of body language, I used to think of it as meet people where they're at.
Okay.
And that's a popular saying right
Yeah.
now. And that is the start. Yet, if we're really thinking about, and my intention, as you know, uplifting the planet. So why would I sit in a meet someone where they're at if they're sitting in a, you know, mud puddle?
Yeah, and that's something very important. You don't have to. You don't have to if you don't need, if you don't want to. There's no need to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And and uh, so then when I think of meeting someone where they're at, yes, do that. And keep with my intention of raising the frequency.
Hmm.
So not getting in their downward spiral, yet holding my own,
Yeah.
standing in my own. And I can only say that because I am. I'm a people pleaser. I love people. I love doing things and caring. Yet I got taken advantage. So I've had to really learn to stand on my
Where
own.
to set your
Hold,
bounds, your boundaries.
yeah,
Sorry.
set boundaries and know that slowly, if that person is open and willing. If they're not,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are just fine wherever they
You keep
are.
on
And it's,
loving them still.
yeah, keep loving them. And this also came out in that first podcast of not interfering with someone else's growth.
Yeah.
I think, and I've had, as such a pleaser, caring individual, I always wanted to figure out how to fix things, and
Mm.
and
I
so
learned,
now I'm
yeah, I learned
learning.
that in the hard way with when I had my rock band, because
Yeah,
I mean, I had, I was semi professional in Mexico about 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And, with the guys that we were a band, we were brothers, and that's where you had to, just leave them be. I was
yeah,
very anal and all always on top and do this, do that. And I realized, you know what? Leave them be. Everybody, it's not that my method is better, their method is better.
yeah,
We have each our own method. So leave them
yeah.
be and leave them happy.
Yes. And for me, be the shining light, be the beacon.
Yeah,
If they catch a glimpse of it and want to know, then I'm here to have a conversation.
exactly.
And if they're not, it's fine. We're all on this beautiful experimental planet doing our own investigation. And and so as we continue with this list, this tone of voice that you're using in your inner
Yeah,
dialogue and tone of voice in a particular conversation in the outer world. And the more I get conscious and aware of how I'm expressing outward, and if it's, I immediately get like a oh well that's not in alignment,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm finally at a point now where I can catch myself right in the moment and say, hey, that wasn't what I meant. I don't know where
Which is
that came from.
important. Which is important. At first, you catch yourself afterwards, and you say, "Oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that. I should have done that." Then you catch yourself at the moment, doing it, and then before you say, "Just beware that you don't go into this space that you don't want to go to."
The quicker that turnaround is,
Yeah,
the better, because it's not lingering in a lower frequency field.
yeah, yeah.
So so turn it around as quick as you can, it
Something,
may.
yeah, I agree, and I was gonna say it needs its time. Some things to take longer, some take shorter, but I think it needs its time. But you do, it's like when you exercise. At first you're gonna be really sore. The first time you go to the gym, you can't lift weights the next day.
I
But
love that
afterwards,
analogy,
and then and you feel good, you look good, and your whole composition is
yeah.
good, and that's the idea. You
Yeah.
know?
And so that then is closely associated with your body language and reading the other person's body language, and getting acutely aware of if there's a moment in the conversation where you pause and you say, hey, do you want to take some time and circle back around? and
Yeah,
and that energetic frequency within all of that tone and body language, well, especially, I mean, in challenging conversations, I mean,
wow,
that's really where a
yeah.
bulk of our growth
Uh,
and investigation and experimentation. Yeah, you can find it in the joyful and the cheerful and
But
the
and the other
and
one is where it's put to test. That's where you really have to perform, right?
yeah. And now I immediately feel the disharmony
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah,
lovingly.
the uneasiness maybe. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think of it like an malaligned frequency,
yeah, yeah,
and of who I would rather, or am ambitiously intending to um refine my character.
yeah,
And this this pause, it usually is not a comfortable thing,
yeah. No, it's
and
not.
that's another thing of really getting comfortable in discomfort.
Yeah,
I love that vision of, all right, I'm standing in me and my relationship with my creator. It is firm and unwavering,
yeah,
and I can at any moment be this for another person. And if that situation needs to have a pause, then that's a beautiful moment to
yeah,
share, whether it's a silence or even walking away from the conversation altogether.
yeah.
However, with the caveat of the agreement that you return to that conversation,
Okay.
because anything that is in disharmony is going to stay
Yeah.
disharmonic until it's met again. And that is actually something that I think about the ascension of not only the planet, yet the entire cosmos. And honestly, I think that that is one of the things that, if humanity understood about eternal, infinite time and space, that we're not so um, blocked or bound into only this life. If
Yeah.
we can think beyond this
Beyond,
life
yeah.
and the growth potential that we have. In fact, I think that this is embryonic stage. We're not even birthed
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, exactly. It's the same thing as the piece in the and or the tree in the forest or the piece in the puzzle, you know. And once you have, you know, you can't just from little piece, you have to put it all, and you have to stand back and understand it. It's the same thing with time and the eternal career. I mean, it's
Mm.
eternal. This is just the beginning. And now that we're talking on that, I want to move into the next segment, which
Yeah.
is very interesting. We talked about our inner, our outer with our peers, with our fellow human beings. But what about something which is the universal expression beyond humanity, beyond who
Mm.
we can relate to here in the material, but with the divine and with all the different entities? Yeah, I mean, it's I always thought that, you know, the vision that you die and go into heaven and you just stay playing a harp with a little bit of angels and God. I like it, but over here on Earth, it's a lot of more exciting. But once you understand that there's a vast cosmos, that there's all these different beings of different types of sorts, it's so exciting. It's so Star Warsy that I love it, you know. But let
You
me.
do like Star Wars.
I know. I had to make a get in there, but you know, this is what I think about it. But true spirituality doesn't stop with us. It radiates
Mm.
outward, binding communities, cultures, and even nations to share language of love. In this conversation, we'll dive into the visions of the universal expression, where the brotherhood of spirit transcends boundaries and draws towards global awakening. And let's talk about the part and the whole. Finally, we
Oh,
come to the paradox, the
yeah.
part and the whole. How does individuality thrive within unity? How does your
Yeah.
unique soul story matter within the vastness of cosmic purpose? Together, we'll explore the balance between being a part and the belonging to the whole, where personal identity and universal destiny meet.
That is so powerful. I love this. And you and I kind of spoke about what my vision is of the part in the whole.
Yeah?
And I used to think of it like a puzzle. I'm a puzzle piece in this masterpiece
Mm-hmm.
of cosmic reality, infinite eternality. And now it has morphed into, yeah, I'm still this puzzle piece, yet it's a 3D malleable. My puzzle piece is malleable, intertwining with all of the other malleable puzzle pieces. So it's not fixed,
Okay,
right? So
okay.
that switch and that vision of
It's
the master.
progressive. It's evolutionary. Let's say, put it that way. It's an
Yes.
evolutionary. You know,
Yes.
that puzzle piece is evolving. It's becoming more perfect, more
Yes.
fittable. Let's say.
Yes, I like that.
All right.
And the reaching beyond humanity into the celestial realm, I immediately go right back to the cosmic family.
Okay.
Even though that we can't see these things with the human eyes, these beings, they apparently, whether it's true or not, this is something that I like to hold as truth, is the celestials and those who we can't see outnumber
Uh,
the humans on the planet. So that in itself really
yeah.
comforts
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And understanding of all of the um lack of ascensionary evolution on the planet, which we've come very, very far from the implantation of life long ago to cavemen to now this amazing technology age that we get to
Yeah.
be right here together.
We
And
that
while
we
you're in
even co-create
Spain,
it, and that's a beauty. This technology, the technological age that we live in, it's part of God's creation and our mind, our humans' mind. So this is, you know, when you realize that, it blows your mind. So please continue.
yeah, so wonderful. So as soon as I started really I understood intellectually about the celestial family beyond human sight. Yet it wasn't until, I don't know, my 30s, mid 30s, that I set the intention that I'm
Yeah.
going to have a relationship with these beings. And the more I study about them through several different texts, um, I feel surrounded all the time. I
And not
feel
only that,
protected.
you're in a team. You're collaborating with them. That's
Yes.
more important still. You
I'm
know.
so glad you mentioned, because teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, of course.
Teamwork, I love that word, collaboration,
Yeah.
because we can't do it all. I can't do it all. I have to have your personality and characteristics to be the host of a podcast that I get to be interviewed on. I love working on teams. I'm probably on, God, 10 teams all the time. And what that does, and I totally advocate for teamwork. If you're not on a
Yeah.
team, think about doing it. That it's that uh, investigating and experimenting, especially through challenge. And if you find team members that have that same mindset of perseverance,
Yeah.
that this art of universal language can be used to heal, be used to solution find, be used to set that creative imagination free, and ascend the planet moment by moment.
And
I was thinking about one thing that a mentor said to me in regards to this inner world leading to outer world expression, and
mm-hmm,
having the question, and I've had this question in my mind for so long, and it motivates me and inspires me to live altruistically,
mm-hmm.
is what is important in my life that is worth moving beyond my life?
Okay.
What is it in your life that will outlast you?
Exactly.
And
What's
are
eternal?
you that's eternal?
What's going
And
to be eternal?
so I think of legacy projects. If
Mm-hmm.
we're here on
Yeah.
this human sphere, what can I set up now to have my spirit of altruism outlast me for many, many generations? And I can't do it alone, so I have to do it with teams.
Yeah.
And so, and then
This is what we're
this,
doing. Exactly.
yeah,
This is the whole purpose of this exercise.
totally. And what that does with the energetic frequency, as far as I understand about, I guess it would be physics, maybe, that when two are in
Yeah.
partnership, it not just doubles it, but it exponentializes that power.
It's the concept of give up three. It's the concept of the trilogy. I mean, that's where everything starts. Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It is. It's there.
I
Definitely.
love that you brought up the Trinity and the triad living. And when two are gathered like we are, there is always that third.
Yeah.
Whether it's, I immediately think of the creator, our creator. Yet if you're not on in those kind of thoughts, it's literally the reconciling force between the two
Yeah.
individuals that is that third,
Exactly.
making it more dynamic, like the pattern of the Trinity.
It sets it in motion. It sets that
Yes.
into the into dynamic motion. Yeah, totally. I love this, and it's, once you start to realize that, and we're talking about collaboration, and that we have human collaboration and we have, celestial collaboration, and in many sorts. And that's what I like, about the different beings that are around us, and, the different jobs that they have, let's say, different, different assignments. And it blows your mind. Before we go, and I have to, I mean, and I want you to tell me a little bit of talk to us about the art of universal language. I mean, what you're doing exactly, but I want to share this story. It's this interesting story about how we may sometimes are collaborating with celestial beings. I have a story. How many times have you heard, and you're like, oh, suddenly an angel appeared and disappeared. I was almost going to crash. Somebody appeared from nowhere and just saved me. And I had an experience, when I was probably about 10 years ago, a little longer, that I used to, I was on a sales call. I used to, I was a manager, and I had to travel from Mexico City to Monterrey. And, the dynamics was that you get in there in the morning, it's a quick flight, you work all day, and then you get back in the evening, and you just travel with the salesman from that city, and you go visit the distributors, whatnot. I was on the way back. We're actually going back to the airport, and he started telling me, "You know what? Let's go step a new distributor. Poor guy. He was just starting, and he told me, you know what? Let's say hi to Chewy. His wife died, and he's kind of sad, and his little kid is there. His daughter's 7, and I felt so sad. It's like, yeah, let's go say hi. And I get in there, and he was talking on the phone. The daughter was just right after school, and she was sleeping. She was just sleeping on there and this was like you have to think about Mexico like a refaccionaria, Monterey of all this, and the kid is there. He's close, and so we get in there. He's finishing his call, and the other guy steps out. And I'm over listening, looking at the display. We heard him say that he was talking about the insurance of his wife, and he said, "I can't go to Mexico City because I'm epileptic. I can't go because I can't go into seizure. There's something I can't go. I can't go." And suddenly, I'm watching there. I stop him hearing. I stop listening to him, and so I turn around, and he was going into an epileptic attack. I was there. I never crossed words with him. I was just waiting for him. He just said hi. I was just waiting for him, and suddenly, I understood because I heard him what he was saying, that was happening. So I was there at that moment. I broke his and if you look at who Regios are, they're big fellows. They're closer to Texas, so you know what I mean. They're not light guys. So I was there. I kind of broke his fall, avoided for him falling and maybe causing bigger damage. His daughter was there, so it was, and we were there. I called the my salesman, like, help me, and at first he started, what are you doing to this guy, But we got him, and he came to being, and we got him into his car, and he said, take me to my mom's house. 5 minutes away from there, we got the kid, and hopefully, I mean, thankfully she wasn't watching, she was sleeping, so she didn't see anything of this. So we got her in the car, we took him over there. We didn't even cross words, but just that. We left him there, and I continued my journey to the airport. So isn't that something, that story has always been in me. I was put there, somebody guided us and put us there and made us be there at that exact time, exact moment. So I just wanted to share that because it felt like it was very, very adequate for this.
Yeah, well, it sounds like altruistic living. And when we're in alignment with the intention that we say we set, the values that we say we have, the clear communication with our creator, there are no
Yeah.
coincidences in the cosmos.
Yeah.
Everything is
Perfect.
you
And
know, and
cue.
if we look at it that way, for me, that's a comfort.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm supposed to walk into this fire right now, and it's gonna make me a better human,
Yeah.
and to not be afraid of that. What is there to be afraid of? You're gonna die? Well, there is no death. This is eternal life. We're
Yeah. Yeah.
already here. And okay, so the fear might be of how we die. Well, that's just gonna be another lesson that we get to
Yeah.
move through and
How many
experience.
times have you got a shot or your tooth pulled out? I mean, it's no deal, but we'll get through it. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. We'll get through it. So I don't know if we can say we'll survive. We won't. I mean, we'll have eternal survival. That is true. Maybe not mortal, but eternal. That's really important. That's something that we have to take into consideration and know that we're a big family. What we're saying, and so I just wanted to real quick, if before we go, I want to, well, not real quick. Take your time, please. Let us know of about yourself, about what you're doing with your project, so people can understand and visit you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so grateful that you've had me here again and look forward to doing something else. So, on my personal path, as we've created the School of Service and the Art of Universal Language being just one of the programs, one of my favorite parts of how I use the art of universal language within another program of the School of Service is our service mentorship
Okay.
program. And we have a nonprofit set up to help people take their unique talents, what
Okay.
they were born with, their passions, their skills, unique to them, their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you had $50 million with nobody to answer to, what would you do
All
for
right.
humanity with that? Not just what would you do for
No,
yourself,
yeah.
like, what would you do for humanity? And take that and turn it into a vocation.
Okay. That's
So this is something really important that I think that God bless them, caretakers and parents, they want the best for their kids.
yeah.
And sometimes I've seen multiple times really I think the rarity is the opposite when parents say you need to do what I do or
Yeah.
you need to do this or I know you because I'm your mother and you need to do
I know
this
better.
and
Yeah.
so I think that around 6th or 7th grade years old we should be considering this question for kids.
Okay.
What is it in their unique personality with their unique characteristics, their unique talent, skills, passion, dream in service to humanity? And I think if that got in public schools or just in parents' minds, and it is becoming a more popular
It is. It is catching. Yeah, it
methodology.
is. It is. It
It
is.
is,
It's
and I
vital.
can see
Yeah.
where, Montessori schools and charter and there are, some educational platforms that are coming in the mainstream that are really lifting up this important role to ascend the planet properly.
Yeah.
Because if you have a child not in alignment with their vocation and they're miserable all of their life, they're not even if they serve humanity in a little bit, that frequency is going to
Yeah.
be uh
And you have to start. You have
de-escalated.
to start at that age. It's small. Putting the foundations. It's very important.
Yes.
If not, then when? You know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the service mentorship program is not just for adults.
Okay.
I think of families in it as well. And as we've work together and teamwork, collaborate with lifting up who you are in service to humanity,
Yeah.
then we may start a business for you. We
Mhm.
may start a nonprofit for you. We may find another business or nonprofit that you align with that you can go work for. So it's really I think this vocation alignment is so important for the
Definitely.
ascension of the planet. And that's something where we can that's an easy thing that humans
Yeah,
can take
yeah,
on.
and I like it that this is not practical. I mean, your solution is not, well, you want to ascend the planet, go and just get on a hill or in a monastery and pray. This is putting action, and I like that. This is what it is, and it's teaching in our practicality. Remember, we do not advocate to just disengage from reality and from the material secular world that we live in. We have to navigate through that world, and we have to have the tools to be able to not only navigate but to uplift, like you're saying, to bring this
Mm,
closer to what perfection might be.
yeah. I like you just said something that caught my ear of for one, this kind of roots back to inner life. Pace. The pace of people is different. So respecting the progress pace of a person is vital.
Yeah,
Not because they're on their own timeline.
yeah.
They're learning the same lessons that we're all learning. We're all learning the same lessons, but the pace, the frequency, not energetic frequency, but the frequency, um,
Mm-hmm.
and the sequence of the lessons are different.
Yes.
So to
No
respect,
one is the same. No one is the
yeah,
same.
and be fascinated by it.
Eh,
Not just like, oh, you do
and
you, boo.
and
But like,
once you realize that, you respect it so much because it's so
yes,
sacred. That's so sacred. It's
yes.
their path. It's their life. It's their eternity.
I'm so glad you brought up that word sacred. If we looked at every sibling on the planet and beyond in the cosmos as a sacred, having the divine within them,
Yeah,
we would look at them differently.
definitely.
And so that's what Santiago and I are advocating for you all today is
Yeah,
to
exactly.
look with fascination
Yeah,
and curiosity about this person who seems so unlike me. What is it that I can find in them that can be a unity point that we can agree on, that we can expound upon that and respect our differences and collaborate with those differences, using those differences to our advantage in this collaborative teamwork experience.
definitely. We have to put them to positive use instead of negative use. And yeah, it's in the end, it's all about love, April Helen. So, oh, and by the way, all the links to April Helen's work is going to be right there. You can click and you can visit. Please go visit her if you're interested in what she's bringing and want to know more. It's always fun. So, I
Yes.
think we're out of time. Unfortunately, it's been really fast. It's been a pleasure. And, before we go, I'm going to give well, the classic, we like that, or we always say, if you really liked it, really subscribe and really share
Yeah.
it, not just, just because of habit. And most of all, tell people about this. You heard this, and maybe there's some interesting things that you want to learn about. Come visit us. We go beyond just this podcast. You can visit all the different projects from the Divine, the Center for Unity, the Divine Within, which is this podcast. But we have a lot of resources. You have April Helen's information as well. You can visit her. I mean, we are proactively putting everything out there for you to share with you. So make use of this. We do it with a lot of love. Take what you can, what you like, and if it works, great. We're gonna be happy. So remember that you always here's a space for you to grow, to learn. And so before I do the closing remarks, April Helen, thank you for being here. It's always been a great pleasure. I really love chatting with you.
You too, Santiago. I feel led to sing a little song.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
You're the only one of you. No one else could ever be like you. And even if they wanted to, you have the upper hand. Yes, we're the only ones of us. No one else could ever be like us. And even if they wanted to, they never stand a chance.
Exactly. That's a way, a nice, a beautiful way to sing this off, April Helen. Well, thank you for your participation. And these are the closing remarks. And as we close today's journey, we may remember that true religion begins within but never ends there. It flows outward into our words, our actions, our service, and ultimately into the universal fabric that connects us all. You are both a part of a vital piece of the whole, and your unique contribution matters in the unfolding story of the universe. Thank you for joining me, and thank you, April Helen, once again for your luminous wisdom. I always I feel very happy when I finish our conversations. And everybody, thanks for being here. Until next time, may your inner dialogue guide you, guide your outer expression, and may every step you take become an act of loving service. I'm
Mm.
Santiago Kneeland. This is the Divine Within. Take care and carpe diem.